This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of bringing Matt Schober. We're going to talk Concierge Health. We're going to talk ancillary revenue streams and new communities that you can bring into your health and fitness studio. So, Matt, welcome to your first Halo Talks.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join you here, Pete, and I'm excited to talk with you and talk about ancillary revenues and how we can drive revenues to new revenue streams to the clubs.
Awesome. So you operate under Concierge Health, which kind of has, the term concierge is obviously very well known and people love to have a concierge. So talk about where the name came from and what the mission is.
Yeah, so the name came from one. We used to be Gym Farm, just so everybody knows. We were Gym Farm before. We evolved the name because I always joke around. I was actually being sold gym wipes all the time, and we're obviously a software, not a fitness facility. We provide services to fitness facilities, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about. But Concierge Health, it was about providing concierge level service. Trying to customize. Customized benefits and journeys for people, but also making sure that, those great experiences also transfer down to operators, being there to support them, being able to bring high level service and automations to their operational suite of features that they had in their club.
So what part of the, market would you say has not been, satirized or monetized or capitalized on that you're basically geared up to basically help someone capture?
Yes. So, one of the big things I think we find ourselves in is with two sides of our business and two sides of where you can tackle ancillary revenues. One being the insurance market. There's the Medicare market, which is obviously, predominantly multiple programs, which they have, these programs where you can get paid based on usage and different things like that. But there's a lot of operational demands that go along with it. So it makes it a little challenging for clubs to participate. So they either choose not to, or they only choose to pick and choose which ones they operate with, because it makes it difficult for them to do the reporting and the verification and things like that. And then there's also the corporate side of businesses, where there's a lot of employees that have access to, the ability to get benefits, and these employers are trying to offer benefits, but the clubs just need to get exposed to them and be out there for them. There are programs like GymPass, but there are also some other programs out there where even if they wanted to generate them themselves, they could, create their own program. And some of the services that we provide can actually help support them in creating either local or regional or even national employer relationships and help manage that with the software that we provide.
Got it. So, as I look back, it's probably less than it was before, but like 10 years, you look at a tech stack and you might have 10 software companies, you might have 10 different logins, you might have some that API, some that don't. How have you guys kind of looked at this and said, all right, let me make this as easy to configure, manage, and not create another layer of, technical or operational management? And how have you kind of thought about that since you guys are really from, the user side?
Yeah. So one of the big things we've done is to create one system where they can operate with multiple programs. That's one of our specialties, is to work with the locations to be able to get to the programs, to be able to do that validation and that reporting all in one place. To do it automated in a sense where they can operate with multiple programs, so they don't have to configure a file for each program. We actually, we also automate that process. So we take away that operational demand. And the other side is also, just working with them, having to go to multiple pages. One of the most recent upgrades for our access granted product is, we actually are now working directly inside of the management system. So no going to a separate web page. We work with your onboarding directly. We can actually pull that data directly in after you've onboarded them with their wellness ID. And we can validate and then actually flag a member if they're ineligible, either at point of when they're signed up, or on a monthly basis, to make sure that if someone's eligibility does change, that you're not having to scrounge to find that revenue that you may have lost from that. So we've placed everything in one place and made it very simple and easy for them to operate it.
Got it. So there's a number of companies out there, not that many, but a number of companies, one that are on the Medicare Advantage side, or whether it's on the software side, whether it's whether it's Weld, whether it's ASH, whether it's Silver Sneakers, and it's Optum's network. So,
Yep.
like, out of those networks, do you cohabitate with them? Do you manage the revenue stream there? Are people using multiple softwares or multiple networks? How does that kind of play out so far?
So typically, we work with Optum, and we've worked with some Tivity, with the Tivity side of things for your Silver Sneakers, and working on bringing in more programs, because there is the American Specialty Health with Silver and Fit, and there's also the Peer Fit Medicare Advantage program that's coming out, and we're working with them as they start to update their APIs to be able to make it a singular platform. Weld also provides similar features. Typically, a location is going to pick one or the other of the two softwares to start to operate their programs and aggregate their data to do the reporting for each program. So they'll be looking to pick one software so that they have a simple, easy use of a system. They don't want to have, for Optum, they wouldn't want to have Concierge Health and then, potentially Weld for American Specialty Health. They'd rather have one or the other for both. And that's,
Gotcha.
that's just a user experience based on a location, because the best thing for them is to have a singular software, which, regardless of which one they choose, our goal is for them to have the best solution possible. So whichever one is best suited for them is what they should be choosing.
Got it. So, Medicare Advantage, having seniors come into your facility, we've only been talking about this since, at least 1999, when I started in the industry. And some clubs were getting pretty material, checks at the time from,
Yep.
From these programs. If I'm a health club operator and you're like my mentor, and I say, hey, Matt, I'm thinking about putting in redoing my basketball court and putting in a pickleball court. I'm thinking about trying to hire, a few more personal trainers, or I'm thinking about getting on, the concierge system. What's your pitch to say, look, this is the easiest way to actually not have to put down money for, maybe just for a software configuration versus actually like a renovation project. And here's what your potential returns are without getting too much into like how much I can make or like any kind of profits claims. How do you think about that as mentoring me?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is that these types of programs can generate revenue for you. So they're going to generate, revenue based on usage. So it's going to be also about what you put into it once that member kind of gets attracted to you. Also about how you're out there in the public trying to attract your members to your location when it comes to those Medicare Advantage and maximizing their visits. So that your goal will be to cap out the number of visits so that you're getting paid in full for that membership of that Medicare person. The best thing you can do with it also is like what we do inside of Concierge Health is we provided our system at a low cost. We're not looking to, we're looking for volume. We look to, you said we want to be able to provide this for, every club where it's not going to be a hard hit to your balance sheet. So, our system starts at $10 per location per program per month. So it makes it very economical and very easy. Because we're connecting in with your APIs. If there is an API fee and you're only using one program, then you'd have to be covering that. But it's a minimal cost. We consider that a minimal cost for if you have, your return on investment could be, $100, $200, $300 for the program on a low end. But you're only paying about $10 per program per month. So, your cost benefit is 10 to 1. Typically on what you're doing when it comes to that, if you could get 3 or 4 members in the system.
So are there a lot of clubs now that have kind of said, okay, when these people walk in, like here's a new playbook of how we're going to treat them. Historically, it's been basically you have access. Maybe there's somebody who kind of says, hey, maybe we should offer, coffee and bagels to these people and get more of them to come in because we get paid on a per visit basis. Or maybe there's flexibility or there's core training or there's, how not to get hurt in pickleball. Are you seeing people say, hey, thanks for the lead or thanks for the traffic. Now, actually, let me make sure they actually come back here. So it's not just a random visit.
Yeah, I think that there are ones that we're seeing that are capitalizing on it are providing. They kind of have a different playbook for their onboarding system when they have them come in. They try to follow up with those Medicare members because they're getting paid on that usage basis. Some that some have the playbook, some don't. So it just really is about your personal preference and your bandwidth for your staff. But the ones who find the most success are the ones who are looking to generate a good experience and focusing on the member experience. And that's kind of what our software is doing, is saying, let us take away the operational part, let us take away the verification part, let us take away the reporting part, so you can focus on that member and then drive them to come in more sessions, more times. Instead of maybe getting them to come in 2 or 3 times, maybe you can get them to come in 8 and cap them out at that session base. So there are ones that have decided to maybe potentially offer different types of services. There are other ones that also offer specific types of classes, maybe once or twice a week. They try to do them twice or 3 times a week during maybe off-peak hours, where they have a Medicare Advantage type of class that will attract those members to come into the club with like-minded people that are part of that let's call it silver fitness group, that are looking to do, say, a low impact group exercise program or something like that.
Okay, so I got 2 things that are bothering me. It has nothing to do with you. I'm not going to call you Matthew. 2 things that bother me about the industry and the way this is kind of set up. When you go into a new client, would it be possible for you to get information, and let's just say from Optum, there's 8,000 people with a 15-minute drive that are in the Optum network, that when this club actually signs up and allows our members to go in there and utilizes Concierge, to actually manage the eligibility, like, this is the size of the opportunity. And my second follow-up question is, why isn't there a fucking school bus that goes and picks people up with a branded logo that says, hey, this is the Medicare Advantage bus, or this is the Optum bus, or this is the Tivity bus, or this is the Gold's Gym bus? Why can't we get back to a school bus?
Okay, so your first question, I do believe Optum has the data. Sometimes when the clubs sign up with that specific program, they don't provide me that information. They'll, if at a request of a brand, typically they can provide it. I'm not sure how much they provide it. They don't give us as much bandwidth on how much they're willing
probably
to.
Some HIPAA compliance related to that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, let's actually, if we're going to go in here, let's actually get everybody to know about it. Use it. Make it easy.
You could start working into the data sets, and there are ways to work into that marketing data set, for locations to help them do that, and then just understand, like, look, we have 8,000 Medicare Advantage members in our area. We now need to start marketing to those people. That is a great point, and I think that like you said, I think, are the programs providing it? At the current moment, I think if you request it, they will, but I don't think it's a standard. I think that It should be standard, because, you should know the bandwidth of your opportunity, in the area, because you can always look and see how many clubs are around you, but you don't know how many members are around you that are actually, eligible for that service, at least for that specific program when you're signing up. So that's obviously very important information. And something that, even myself probably will take back to those programs and say, look, I think that this is part of their onboarding. They should know about this. And maybe it's something that we can add into the platform so that people can see that. And then they can see how they're managing based on, oh, look, I have 20 Medicare Advantage members from Optum, and they're saying there's 8,000 in my area, and then in a 10-mile radius. Why am I not getting better?
Yeah.
And so that is a perfect marketing opportunity and ability for them. The other part about the bus, I've always wondered why people didn't look for maybe senior living communities where people are physically active and able to go to a gym. Why aren't they just, do they have a bus or a van or something like that? It probably falls down to liability of picking people up. But I know that some programs have looked at the opportunity for transportation to lifestyle benefit products, as part of their Medicare Advantage, which would fall into the fitness category, where they'd be able to get a ride from wherever they are to the gym. And the program may cover a little bit of it, but like you said, why are fitness clubs not getting a little bus, or Tivity or some of these guys getting a bus? I'm not sure they'll get the bus, but I think that, there's obviously opportunities for clubs to say, why don't I look at the different pockets of where there might be more seniors, where I can generate them if I participate in these programs, like looking at, like I mentioned, senior living communities where it's it's maybe not assisted living, but it's a senior community over 65, where they don't probably have a full out gym or group X classes, where they'd be able to come in there and say, look, I can offer you a free membership here. How can we do that? And a lot of those locations have a van that then you could probably talk to them about, like I mentioned, a scheduled class, maybe a group X class, where they can then say, look, we're going to have this group X class every day for seniors at 12. can you make sure the bus is going to bring people here at 11:45?
Yeah.
And you can schedule it to bring them there. So that's just a marketing effort by each location to try to find maybe a senior living near them that can then generate that motion and movement of Medicare Advantage people into the platform.
Gotcha. Okay, my next question is related to, if I've got 30 clubs or 40 or 50 clubs, obviously I have a pretty big corporate overhead team. I might have somebody who's head of partnerships, responsible for ancillary revenue streams, community builder, whatever the role and responsibility. Who do you typically try to interface with on the other side? And if it's an independent operator, he or she may be, fighting fires, and you might catch them for 5 minutes, and then it's a 6 to 12 month sales cycle, and they'll find about how much money somebody else made or how beneficial it was, at the next trade show, and then call you back. But who are you, like? Who's the counterparty on the other side, and how do you feel like their role or their directive, is truing up to, like, hey, this is actually something we need to focus on?
Yeah. So when it comes to the larger groups, like when it's not just the owner operator who's in there, you're typically looking at an operations officer or a revenue officer. Typically that's who we find we're interfacing with. We end up going downstream a little bit towards someone who's directing those programs, but ultimately the person who's making that decision maker is that revenue or operations person, because that falls under their purview of, like, how much revenue are we generating from third party programs. So that's who we're typically working with, and looking to help educate them on the service that we can provide that frees them up to do other things. Allows them to manage more programs. And we always say, we're not taking away the job of the person who manages the program. That's one of the biggest things we always try to help people understand. We're making them more efficient to help each location operate better, and even that person who's managing that program, helping them not lose revenue, helping them make sure that each location is also maximizing those benefits with those individuals. So like we said, they're focusing on driving more usage at the location instead of trying to follow these operational procedures, which are different than the general onboarding of a member that you're collecting a credit card from. They have to create a specific membership type, collect their ID number, like their wellness ID number for each program. They have to collect their date of birth correctly. If some of that information is incorrect, the person's file can, and you won't find that out for 2 months, that their file is actually not going to be paid for. So that's a hard part for that operations person, that front desk person who may be onboarding that person. They may forget to do that. So if we can take away that operational demand there, it allows them to focus on the individual and that person's experience.
Got it. And the last question I have is related to when we first spoke. You said you had some new tools, maybe some AI that you were putting in on some of the member engagement pieces of your platform. Can you talk a little bit about that as a new feature set or a new rollout?
Yeah, so we actually have a whole new platform called Connections. Connections is our brand new platform. It's actually an employer well-being, employee well-being, health and well-being platform. It's an engagement platform that has AI built into it. It has AI coaching. It has AI nutrition. It also connects a lot of the mental health, behavioral health, emotional health, and obviously the fitness clubs would be that physical health part of it. The part of Connections that we've really kind of evolved it into from our experience with working with insurance companies is to create an engaging experience for the individual, but also maximize partner exposure, and also giving partners tools in order to be able to utilize this. So one of the things is that if you have local relationships or regional or even national relationships as a large national brand, you can use Connections to manage those relationships instead of coming in with a point solution to that corporation, and they're kind of maybe a little hesitant on doing a membership rate with you. But it also allows us we also come in and manage the eligibility of that employee. So so the same way we would do for a Medicare Advantage program, we're going to do that for your employer programs that you run from a local, regional, or national level. So then you can then start generating more revenues from that, instead of just just having, your tools of like someone comes in and says, oh, I work at Citibank. Okay, that you have this rate. And then that person may leave the company 2 months later and you're still giving them that membership rate for 7, 8, 10 months. We're able to help navigate that, make sure that the people are still eligible for that rate as well. And then the one other thing with, I think what I mentioned earlier is that the other tool that was updated with Access Granted is Access Granted is actually completely embedded into your onboarding system. So it will actually pick up the exact the membership type of the individual. It will pick up those new members every night and actually process eligibility in that evening, and then be able to flag that individual if they are ineligible. If they aren't ineligible, our system will then process them for every visit that they do and start creating a file for you to submit at the end of every month. And then, in order to eliminate them having to go into our platform, what we do is we actually email them the files of each program that they work with so that they can just automatically upload them because they're in the format in which they have to upload. So they never have to come into the Concierge Health portal. They never have to go to a web page to do eligibility validation. And it'll continuously do that validation over time.
All right, to end here, I got some lightning round questions for you. Okay.
Yep.
To get to know you, because you're like the face of the company here. So are you a morning or nighttime workout guy?
I'm actually mid-afternoon, nighttime type of person. I kind of split my workouts, so it's kind of a little weird. Like for me, I do my cardio in the morning. I run with my dogs for about 2.5 miles, and then I do my lifting part towards the afternoon. Pretty methodical on my days where I kind of just split it up. So,
right. Well, thanks for the tell us if it's working, and maybe we can cut it up like intermittent fasting. We'll call it intermittent workouts. It'll be the new theme.
I can tell you it works for me. It works for me because I don't get tired during my lifting part, but I do get my cardio in. So
got it. All right. So on Netflix, we comedy, drama, documentary, horror, anime.
So predominantly, I'll look for the comedy. I like to have my lightheartedness because obviously working all day, I like to have some lightheartedness, but I also do like to experience those documentaries here and there. So
as you become more and more of an entrepreneur, do you have more OCD or do you let it flow a little more?
I'm
OCD, by the way.
I've developed my OCD. I'm very methodical. I'm very okay, I have my stuff. I have my start of my day. So I'm very, very OCD when it comes to my behaviors.
All right, a couple more. Value or growth investor?
Value. In my mind, I think there's a lot of importance on value, the value they can bring versus growth money or anything like that.
Gotcha. And the last one is if you weren't an entrepreneur, what would you be?
I start to think of that one and I'm like, what would I do? I have a passion for real estate. So I think I'd probably want to get into real estate in some capacity. If it's either, because I kind of do a lot of the business development sales, you could probably imagine I'd probably be in real estate sales or something like that. Probably would probably be what I would be doing if it wasn't for working with Concierge Health and developing this product.
All right. Well, keep up the good work for the industry. Don't quit your day job. If I find you in a real estate CBL, I'm going to pull you back out.
All right.
But, thanks for getting on the show, giving us a little precursor on what you get with Concierge Health and the benefit of actually focusing on this category for their purposes and for ours. Right. So.
No, I really appreciate it. It's been an honor to speak with you today. And
awesome.